Head Secret Keeper here. Guess what? We're going on tour.
Brian, I am so excited because we are taking this show on the road. It's something that we have never done before, and we are so excited that over the next few months, there's just exciting stuff happening. Obviously, we have your book coming out, Millionaire Mission, that is going to be
What?
amazing.
I have a book coming out?
It's going to be amazing, and you guys are going to love it. And as part of that, we want to go on a little Millionaire Mission book tour so that you guys can learn even more about the book and get to interact with us, and it's going to be a blast.
I am excited.
So excited.
I'm nervous, but I just can't wait to be around fellow financial mutants.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I meet you guys, whether you come on studio tours or whether I see you out and about, you're always so awesome. And what I love is you're a successful group of people too. Like I was just at the airport yesterday, met a JAG, so legal minds. I mean, we run into all types and, that come through here that are brilliant. And I'm so excited we get to do a new endeavor and going on a book tour. Because we haven't done a lot of live events.
No, not unless it's like a corporate
I really,
type
look,
thing.
if you've ever, and we're about to share with you what to expect from this so we can show you the value proposition. But I do hope and I encourage you guys, when we share the website, go check this out. Because, I mean, I absolutely love that we have, and I'll just say it, accidentally discovered the greatest thing in the world by creating content to help you become better with money, to kind of understand the wonderful world of finance. And I'd love for us all to kind of be able to get together now and hang out, be financial mutants, celebrate the 18 years. That's right. This thing is old enough to vote, no matter what that means in this crazy year. But just go on this journey with us as we go on this new endeavor.
So I love it.
Can you tell I'm nervous? This is way by the way, my keynote's gonna be as well. I'm gonna get up there, and the more nervous is the more chaos you'll get.
Just amazing. It's gonna be awesome. So we're all gonna get to hang out together. It's gonna be great. And here's what we want you to expect when you show up to the book tour. You're gonna be able to come in. You're gonna be able to grab a snack, and you're gonna be able to mingle with other mutants. So you're going to get to meet other folks
Mutant mingle.
in your area.
We trademarked that yet? Mutant mingle?
Tim. You're going to get to hang out with folks that view and think about the world in the same way that you do when it comes to finances, and it's going to be so awesome. You're also going to be able to find your seat for the speech, because it's going to be great. Brian has been working on this amazing speech to tell you a little bit about his millionaire mission, what he's done, and as well is how you can start your own, where you can go with that. And then after Brian's speech, we're going to do a live in-person Q&A where we're going to take questions directly from you, the audience. So I'm going to come up there, we'll sit there.
And
just
we haven't
like
talked about this, but I'd be okay if it's like an Ask Me Anything type thing where, really, I mean, because it's going to be like the show, but better in some ways, because I think you can take off some barriers in a lot of territory.
I like it. So you heard it here first, Ruby.
Yeah. We'll see if the head count herder lets that stick.
I also heard it here first that this is an Ask Me Anything Q&A. All right.
Interesting.
Okay, that didn't come up in pre-show.
Well, you don't have to karaoke when they ask you to karaoke. You can put your own boundaries.
But you certainly could. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And if you want the full experience, one of the things we're going to do on this tour is we're also going to offer VIP tickets. And here's what a VIP ticket will get you. You get a private meet and greet before the show where you get to come in. We'll kind of be hanging out, chatting with everyone. We're going to be there. Brian's willing to sign your book, and then we'll take photos. And then one of the great things about
Brian's privileged to sign your book.
He's
what are you talking
privileged to
about?
sign your book.
I'm excited. I'm embracing this.
And by the way, by the time we get there, man, how good is that signature going to be because of all of the reps you're getting right now? And then you're going to get priority seating for the keynote. So you're going to get to come in before general admission. You're going to get to choose where you want to sit and what proximity you want to be in for both the keynote as well as for our live Q&A. It's going to be a lot of fun. I feel like it's going to be just a party that we're going to be hanging out at where we all get to do essentially this, but instead of you only seeing us and us only looking at the camera, we get to all see each other, which I think is going to be amazing.
So are we ready to announce the key locations?
All right. Ruby, is this the time? Can we say it?
It is time.
All
you
right,
are
here we
set
go.
loose, Brian.
By
I'm
the way,
so excited.
I want to tell you guys, first of all, Financial Mutants, you guys are awesome. I loved getting all the feedback of where you guys were asking. Pitbull, Anchorage, Alaska. Shout out to you. That was that is not the first announcement, but I gotta say, it made me chuckle a little bit
Somebody
seeing
wanted
Pitbull
Brian
and
and
Walmart.
Mr. 305.
Pretty
But
cool.
and I like to think of myself as the financial Mr. 305.
I think so,
But unfortunately, or more fortunately, or more likely, let's face it, we are here in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. You know, the music city. I was just in New York yesterday, and everybody, when you say you're from Nashville, they all talk about the honky tonks of Broadway. But we also have a great history here in Franklin, Tennessee, and that's why we are going to kick off this tour in Nashville. We say Nashville, but it's actually in Franklin, on the Franklin Theater, which is right down the street from our studio off of Main Street here in Franklin, Tennessee.
And so the date of that's going to be May 30th is the night that we're going to be doing the speech here in Franklin. So if you happen to be in or around the Middle Tennessee area, or you want to come to the Middle Tennessee area, we would encourage you to do that. So if you want to go buy tickets right now, you can go to moneyguy.com/booktour/Nashville and buy tickets right now. And again, this is literally one block over from our world headquarters. And we love this little town. So if you are going to come and visit and see it, you're going to fall in love with it too.
No, this is fun. And then the second one, by the way, this one got a lot of shout outs yesterday on social media. And it made me excited because it's also we got quite a few employees from the Money Guy family and the Abound Wealth family that hail from this area. Literally hail from this area, because since one of them has
Get it?
that
'Cause
last
his
name.
last name is
But
Hale, maybe?
Dallas, Texas, and you can see we're in the Angelica Film Center.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I won't do the rest of
I
it.
know.
But that's June 1st, 2024. That's pretty exciting. I mean, just seeing the picture of these theaters kind of gives me some butterflies in both the awesomeness and
I
nervousness
think
side
that
of things.
this is located right in the heart of Mockingbird Station, which I understand is a staple there. And so this will be on June 1st. If you want to buy tickets to the Dallas Money Guy tour, you can go to moneyguy.com/booktour/Dallas and buy tickets there. We're going to have general admission as well as VIP. So that's going to be a fun one that we're going to get to do.
And then in week 2 of the book tour, we're of course going back to the roots, Atlanta, Georgia.
That's right.
This one I'm kind of
Hometown.
excited because I know that I'll have friends, family, probably the guy that I got in the fight with in the second grade over pine cones will be there.
He's going to be there.
I think guys that were neighbors of mine down in Georgia will likely be there. So this is going to be, you never know who you're going to be sitting next to in Atlanta. So this will be a fun one to do, and that's going to be at the Variety Playhouse.
Variety Playhouse, and it's going to be on June 6th. If you want tickets, moneyguy.com/booktour/Atlanta, and then the final location for the book tour, Brian.
Well, of course, why wouldn't we in an election year with presidential election? We're doing the last event out of our 4-city tour is going to be on Saturday, June 8th in Washington, D.C. at the Miracle Theater.
That's right. It's located on Capitol Hill in the historic Barracks Road neighborhood on June 8th. And it's going to be great. And look, like I said, this is the first time we've done a tour. It's the first time we've done this before. So we're really excited to see what it's like to get to hang out with you guys, to see what it's like to get to spend time with you. And who knows, Brian, maybe if this goes really, really well, maybe we'll do more of this in the future.
Let's let this cart develop on its own before we start talking about future events. I would really, all my financial meetings, come out and hang out with us. Let's do a proof of concept. Show me that this 18 years that a lot of you guys have connected. I'd love to hear your stories, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
So if you want to go buy tickets, we would encourage you go to moneyguy.com/booktour, and you can check it out. By the way, if you've not pre-ordered the book, Brian, are you going to tell me anything about the book for folks who've not pre-ordered the book?
Guys, I would encourage you, just go to moneyguy.com/millionaire mission. Even be a financial mutant. Go price shop all the different links on there. Get the best deal possible on Millionaire Mission. But this thing, I am, as you can imagine, I've been in the weeds, and with such a big announcement, I have been drinking out of the Millionaire Mission mug, but I needed a friend for this one. I brought back an old friend, but you can see we are surrounded by Millionaire Mission. We even have some of the early books out on the shelves now. So just go on this journey with us. I think you'll have a blast. I can ensure that this will be a spectacle that you'll remember. Just get me long enough talking about things, and I'll give you some memories. And I encourage you to go on this with us.
What I'm so excited about is one of the things, and I don't want to. Can am I allowed? I'm not going to give away information, but can I just say some stuff?
I'm excited to see what you're going to say.
I just think one of the things that's going to be awesome, right? You know, Brian's going to kind of give this speech. You're going to get to hear about his millionaire mission. You're going to get to hear some of the things that formed and made him who he is today. And what I love is, even as we've kind of been like listening to and watching him craft this speech, some stuff is coming out that we've not talked about on the show. It's not stuff that's been on the podcast before. It's not stuff that maybe you would have heard or stories you would have heard just by listening. So it's going to be something that's unique, that folks who buy the book and read the book are going to get a different insight into the man, the myth, and the legend of Brian Preston.
I don't want to talk, I don't want to like over talk it up, but there were a few things in Brian's speech that he's been crafting that I had never seen before.
Well, I had to get some
I know
of
all your
childhood
stories,
friends.
and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so good. Like, oh, this is part of this story that like we haven't uncovered yet, and it's really impactful. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the people to have that special experience.
I enlisted some of my childhood friends to go dig into their pictures and details. And so we've got some unique things that are even outside of the Preston archives.
I love it. So one of the things that we got to do, we said at the book tour, we're going to be doing a live Q&A where you're going to ask questions and we're going to give you answers. And that's one of our favorite things in the world that we get to do. And that's why every Tuesday here, we like to load you up with answers to the questions of the things that you care about. So right now we've got the team out adjacent to the wings collecting questions. So make sure if you want us to speak to it, get it in right now. And with that, producer Reby, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Let's go. All right. I do have a few questions queued up. We're going to kick it off with Jack's question. He says, I am 25 and currently building my own business after leaving a lucrative career. So this year I will have very little income. How can I take advantage of a low income year? And I mean, he's starting a business too, guys. Like what can you what food for thought can you give him as he embarks on this journey this year?
Well, I think about as someone who is starting a business, and frankly, you're starting business pretty early on, right? Like 25 is still very, very young. And I love the idea that you're thinking, okay, I know that my income's going to be lower now than it has been previously. Are there things that I should be thinking about? Are there ways I should take advantage of that? And while I like that mindset, I think for any brand new entrepreneur or someone who is like very early on in their entrepreneurial journey, you have to keep in mind that one of the things you want to really make sure you do is you maintain enough liquidity in this small business so that you can last through the up times and the down times of the early years. Because Brian, you've said this 1,000 times. When you start a business, it's not like you hang your sign up and all of a sudden customers start coming in and there's no roadblocks. It can be hard. It can be tumultuous. And a lot of small businesses don't even make it past years 2, 3, or 4. So if you're very early on in this, I think rather than thinking about like optimization strategies and how can I take advantage of the low income and are there things I could do? I mean, sure, you can accelerate capital gains. And if your income is low enough, you can pay a 0% capital gain. You can do that kind of stuff. You can certainly do Roth contributions. We'll talk about that when we talk about the financial order of operations. But the big thing I would encourage you is don't get so far out ahead of yourself strategizing that you're not focusing on making sure you're keeping appropriate liquidity so that when things maybe are a little bit tighter, or maybe when that capital you initially started with begins to wane, you have enough liquidity behind you to give you the staying power to push on to the next phase of your business.
Yeah, Jack, I mean, I wrote 3 quick notes, but I will kind of give you the experience share of exactly what Bo was talking about. And back in 2002, when I started my first business, I remember that if I had not built up enough cash to carry me those first 3 years, this thing wouldn't be what it is today. Because here's the thing, just like it sounds like you had a great income you left. I left right at 6 figures, went all the way down. I think the first year I made $17,000. So it was
an intense drop.
It was a very intense drop, but fortunately I put on my 3D glasses. So I had the dream plan of, oh my gosh, this is why we're doing this, so I can spend more time with my family, but I also will have financial success. Then there's a down-to-earth plan of what I think will happen, but of course I also built a plan understanding the do-do plan. And I got to tell you, I'm not so sure my business startup didn't look more like the do-do plan for the first 3 years, because it is interesting when you look back on and dissect what success is. I'm not so sure you look at the first 4 to 5 years of my entrepreneurship vision and you say, so that's why you got to make sure you have enough cash to make it through that journey. So then, yes, 10 years in the future, people go, man, you made that look easy. But like, yeah, you weren't there those first 2 to 3 years where it was pretty rough. So pay attention to the cash. If you need access to cash or turn investment assets into cash, that's what you can lean into what Bo was talking about, because if your income is low enough, there is a 0% capital gains tax. For people, I think for married couples, it's around $80,000.
Like
for singles, it's around $40,000. You could get access, but it's more of just a survival and then prospering and building upon success is the way to make things work initially, and then we'll get into optimization after you've kind of reached some less choppy waters out there from the beginning of your endeavor.
But I still think even in this journey, the foo will not lead your story. Brian, will you hold the thing up for me? If you want to check your copy out, moneyguy.com/resources. If you're working through the financial order of operations, and even as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, when you get to step 4, emergency reserves, let's say that you've accounted for that, and you know that, okay, I'm supposed to have like 3 to 6 months of expenses, but because I'm an entrepreneur, maybe I've got 12 months of expenses, so I feel really good there. You can continue on in the financial order. There's nothing wrong with going to step 5 and say, hey, you know what, I have a high deductible plan. I can fund an HSA, or you know what? Our income now will allow us to contribute directly to Roth. So I'm going to go ahead and do Roth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing those things so long as you don't get out of order. You want to make sure step 4 is completely funded, especially for small business owners, before you start going into 5, 6, or 7.
By the way, I want you guys who are writing us and sharing that you have you've printed it out, laminated your financial order operations. We hear you. And I would tell you, if you want to, you can go to moneyguy.com/book tour, bring your laminated foo, and we can have one heck of a time making sense. I know.
You're going to sign that.
Well,
but
you
then
can
it
sign
will
a
wipe
laminated
off.
book.
Well,
Why can't you
dry erase
yeah, bring a dry eraser and I'll sign all your laminated foos. But I do. It cracks me up when people tell me that they are laminating the food just like we do.
I love it. I love it.
I love it too. Jack, thank you for your question. It is a Tumblr day. So if you would like a Money Guy Tumblr, you can just write to Matt. It's MATT at moneyguy.com. And we will work on getting that sent out to you. Yes, it is a Tumblr, but it can also transform into a koozie. It can be either one.
I just thought about this. Can I throw this out there?
Yeah.
For the book tour, we need to make sure that we take a bunch of different kinds of like markers and Sharpies. Because like, if someone wants you to sign the book, like there's like, you want like a nice pen, right? But if someone wants you to sign a Tumblr, you'll need a different kind of marker if
He's
you
gonna
want to
sign
sign
a
a
Tumblr.
Tumbler. You know what I mean?
Did you tell everybody I'm left-handed?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Have
saying.
you
Like,
seen how I write? I mean, let's
just a
let's
big
not
smudge.
get crazy. We talk
wanna
about
see you sign a Tumblr. That
laminated
sounds
food
exciting.
sheets. We don't talk about signing a bunch of all the.
I think
I
it's-
sign books.
I
and
think in the
sign-
book tour, we're going to sign a bunch of stuff. That's my prediction.
Bo would have me sign his bicep.
I mean,
if he
yeah.
was
I mean,
Oh,
that's why
buddy,
we
come on.
created the VIP ticket, because like we wanted to have that time to actually like talk to you or like actually sign books and actually share stories. So I don't know. I'd get ready. I agree with Bo.
We have a bunch
I'd
of
make a
different kinds of
plan.
pens.
We'll talk about it. All right, you ready for the next question?
Oh yeah.
Mia's question is up next. She says, I'm a 20-year-old student living at home.
Woo.
I have a full tuition scholarship and a 529 plan.
Great.
Wow.
Would it be smart for me to roll over the funds to my Roth IRA to help me save for a home?
Oh, Mia,
There's a few-
what
there's
a
a
financial
few
mutant.
elements there.
Do you realize how all the cool things that are going on with Mia's question? First of all, 20 scholarship, 529 savings. So living, obviously, having parents that started saving as well. I mean, there's lots of good modeling going on there. I like where your head's at, Mia, but here's the thing. 529 to Roth. That's a brand new provision. I like that, especially if you don't have the earned income while you're still a student and you're overfunded because of the scholarship. It is, I'll just share this for everybody. This is outside of the MIA realm. You know, when you do have a scholarship and you have 529 assets, in the past, you always could say, well, you could pull the money out of the 529 penalty free and just pay the income taxes. Well, then with recent legislation, they've made it where now you can actually, as long as the account's been open for over 15 years, you can convert a portion of it towards a Roth IRA. So I love that thought. If your 529 is overfunded and there's not like a sibling behind you or some other planning need that this money is required for, then by all means, I love the thought of turning it into a Roth IRA. But here's where this went a little askew for me, Bo. She said, then can I use that Roth IRA money for a first-time home purchase? There is can and then there's should. Because if you think about Roth IRA money for a 20-year-old, that is 88 times over territory. Roth IRA money is tax-free territory. Why are we going to mess that up with a house purchase with those assets when there's so much potential that it could become a tax-free millionaire for yourself down the road?
Yeah, I think in order to in order to be able to roll the 529, now check me on this. I think that you have to have earned income to be able to do the conversion from 529. You still have to be Roth eligible to do that, I think. I need to check on that. But I would argue, Mia, if you are, let's say that you are working and you are creating some sort of income and you are earning, I would love to see you be able to save for that house down payment outside of having to use your Roth dollars for the exact same reason that Brian just said. I think if you can get those dollars in Roth and you can let them continue to grow, even though there are certain carve-outs for first-time home buyers, I think that your future self will thank you for funding that Roth at the age of 20 because of how powerful those dollars can be. But I would look at, okay, because I'm getting scholarship funds and I do have a fully funded 529, what are the ways that I can get that money reimbursed to myself and make sure that I'm not having to pay the penalty, even if I have to pay ordinary income taxes? Because even if I'm paying ordinary income taxes, but I'm a 20-year-old, there's a really good chance that I'm not earning a ton. I might be in a very low tax bracket, so the income tax might not be as cumbersome as I think. And then if you're able to distribute those dollars out, even if it's for or even if you are able to reimburse for the scholarships, you are going to have after-tax dollars that you're going to be able to potentially use to save for a down payment or save for a house or whatever, while still funding your Roth. I think those are two separate goals that you are commingling, and I would encourage you, if you can, figure out how you pursue both. Save for the house down payment, but also fund the Roth and let those dollars work for you.
And then, Mia, I'm going to give you the old man wisdom advice here, because I've given the same talk to Bo as well, is that I look back on my own life and I say, man, why was I in such a hurry on so many life events? And I think this is an achiever's mentality, is that we think, man, I need to prepare for this. I need to prepare for this. And I need to prepare for this. And I think about my first home purchase, and I forced it in a lot of ways, meaning I it was not in the best part of town. It was not say more house than I needed at the time. It was, way earlier than I should have. But I think this is what us achievers do. I just wanted to say, Mia, congratulations on your success, but make sure you're also taking time to enjoy each decade of your life. You are only in your teens once. You're only going to be in your 20s once. You're already on the financial mutant path of saving, building, and having success. But I'd also make sure you're taking time to enjoy that season of life as well.
Love it.
Fantastic. Mia, thank you for your question. If you would like a Money Guy tumbler, just email Matt, MATT, @moneyguy.com. And since we answered your question on the show, we would love to send you one. All right. We've got a question from Matt up next. Not the same Matt as the one we just talked about.
Is it 2T Matt or 1T Matt?
2T Matt.
2T Matt.
He says, help. I took out a 401k loan for the first time home purchase before finding y'all. Any general advice for how to recover? Should I pay it off ASAP? It's a 3.12%. I think he means the interest rate. And can payments count as part of my savings rate? What do you think?
So any general advice? So for those of you that don't know, a lot of 401ks have a provision where they say, hey, if you need access to money, you can borrow against your 401k and you can borrow money for yourself. And you might think to yourself, well, that sounds amazing. I'm borrow from myself, and when I pay it back, whatever that interest rate is, I'm going to pay myself back interest. And while that's true, what most people don't account for is the opportunity of those costs, the opportunity cost of those dollars that you are taking out of play. Because when you take out a 401k loan, you're essentially pulling those soldiers off the field. You're pulling those players off the field. They're no longer working for you. So if you're someone who's in your 20s, we know that every dollar that you invest can turn into 88. That's how valuable those dollars can be. Well, if you instead borrow against them and they're not working for you, you are literally robbing your future self. So when I look at your situation in a vacuum without knowing like any of the other variables or any of the other unique circumstances that surround you, I think if I were in that situation, I would probably prioritize getting that 401k loan paid back as quickly as possible, whatever was required to make that happen so that I could get all of those dollars working for me, and then I could begin my wealth building journey in all the other areas and all the other parts of the FOO that I should be working towards.
I think, by the way, Bo is spot on. I just wanted a mental thing that I was thinking about as you were explaining the logistics of how borrowing from your 401k works. It cracks me up is we get it so excited that you got to borrow from yourself for 3.12%. Mm-hmm. That sounds so good, but realize exactly what Bo said. The money's not making money anymore. You're paying yourself back 3.12%. versus earning. Do you see the delta there? The
Huge.
Difference between that? So it's actually not a good, that's all it did was give you an amortization payment that is lower on the payback. So it's actually going to probably, for people who are not financial mutants, they're going to think they have more time to, because of the low interest rate, to pay themselves back. And that is just more time that money is not going in to build their army of dollars, and it's working against them. Because realize, guys, you can do after hour works, you can spend less, but you can't get more time. I mean, that is the biggest thing that I wish that whenever we do our annual millionaire survey, when we ask millionaires, our millionaires, what their biggest regret is, every year, you can set your clock to it. They're going to say, I wish I'd have started saving and investing earlier. Don't fall into that trap, Matt. So yeah, prioritize. I'm glad you found us. Now get busy paying yourself back. We don't care that it's 3.12%. We're trying to get you back to baseline zero, so now your army of dollars can actually do whatever your wealth multiplier is. Go to moneyguy.com/resources if you want to see specifically what your wealth multiplier by age is, and then get motivated and make it happen.
And then the last part of your question was, is it okay? Can this count as part of my savings rate? In my opinion, it's any means necessary. However you have to mentally account for it. If you need to think, okay, for the next 2 months, I'm going to take everything I've got in terms of free cash flow and apply it back to this 401k loan to do that, I would encourage you to do that. And then get to where you need to be saving 25%. Get back to your wealth building journey. I just don't think that having debt, especially a 401k loan, is serving you any benefit right now.
Fantastic answer. Okay, Matt, if you would like a tumbler, you can email our money guy, Matt, because we'd love to send you one since we answered your question today. Just email him at matt@moneyguy.com.
Probably not going to forget that email address now.
That's right. How could he? Okay, the next question is from the Kwanzaa dude. He says, how do I balance larger vacations while investing 25%? My wife's mom passed away recently, and she wants to take some bigger vacations. And this reminds me of what you say, Brian, about making the memories blossoming. And so this is that part where the math meets the life fulfillment and emotion. So what can you say to him?
Well, I'll give you sort of a thing I've thought about. You know, my wife and I have had these conversations previously. Like in the past, she might have wanted to go on a big trip or do a big thing. And what I tell her is I say, sweetheart, anything is possible. Like anything that you want to do is possible. But there are costs associated with that. Meaning, all right, if you want to take a really big trip, if you want to go do this thing, that's great. We can do it, and we're going to save to be able to do that. But what's the thing that we're going to give up, or what's the thing we're going to sacrifice, or what's the thing we're going to squeeze somewhere else in our financial life to make that work? And so as when we were younger, that's how we would approach making decisions around that. Okay, if we want to do this, what are we going to squeeze in order to allow us to do that? Now, I think, and this is my opinion, Brian, I'll be curious if you say this, like, I think that like traveling and making memories are wonderful, and there's something that should absolutely take priority. But I am of the opinion that vacations and large trips are probably something that we talk about lifestyle creep not inherently being a bad thing. I think that vacation creep is not a bad thing, and I think it's something that probably should happen, but it's something that should happen in stages. I mean, there's a place and a time in your financial journey where what I'm going to call large vacations make sense. And there's a place and time in your financial journey where large vacations probably don't make sense, right? Would you agree with that?
I was going to put an asterisk, but I do completely agree with you. As if you go to moneyguy.com/resources on the financial order of operations, I classify big vacations where, is a kind of a step 8, prepaid future expenses or abundance goals. There's a reason we call them abundance goals, is because this is when you got your base underneath you and you can fund those things. But now don't mishear me, because I do want you to bedazzle your basic life, and the fact that I do want you still traveling, making memories and other things. Now, here's where the asterisk is, because there was an extra element here that you don't typically hear when you get these examples. Was it this money's a gift, or was it inherited? What was the first part of the question?
Well, I just think the wife's mom passed away.
There you go.
And so it's a catalyst for wanting to do this more.
Look,
I don't know if there was inheritance. I just think it was the idea that they wanted to.
But I do want to say this, because I think this is something worth noting. As I said in the previous answer, is that you can go work harder and make more money, meaning you can take on more hours. You can spend less money to create savings that way. But one thing you can never get back is time. Now that cuts you both ways. That cuts you on your saving and investing goals, is meaning that you need to be very deliberate with every second of your life to make sure that you are not wasting opportunities. But it also catches you on the other side of it, is that if there's people in your life that you love, and that's why if this did come from an inheritance or something, and you know that this person, it's no different than like when you're given a gift or even inherited assets, and there's some intent behind it, then that's going to be different if there was a one-off that, my mother-in-law passed away and she always wanted us to go on an Alaskan cruise, and we daydreamed and we never got to do it. So this is the way we're going to honor her legacy, because we think that this money would really, I would probably lean into that somewhat, because the intent, it's no different than when you come into a marriage and somebody's got inherited assets. Legally, that stuff's treated differently. I think goal-wise, that stuff can be treated because its intent came from a different place. But if this is just, now I think I've lived enough life and I now need to kick up my to go to big vacations, be careful going away from the 25% before you reach step 8 of the financial order of operations. So it's hard to, without knowing your specific details when we triage this, but I think we've given you enough crumbs there, or morsels or nuggets of information to kind of figure out how you navigate that well, because you do need to feel like while you're below 25% that clock is ticking, and you need to kind of prioritize that as much as possible, but also with the ultimate goal of building those, blossoming memories.
And I think one of the things, you ought to approach vacationing as a financial mutant. And this is what I mean. Focus on the things that actually make sense for you to spend money on because you value them. I've got some friends of mine, they love to travel, could care less about the accommodations. Like, they are perfectly fine staying in like hostel and just like roughing it and sleeping on a couch and whatever. I am not that way. Like, when I travel, when I go on vacation, I want like nice accommodations. I want to be super, super comfortable. Well, I'm willing to pay a premium for that, where they would much rather, they care more about the location than the accommodation. And so really figure out, when your wife says larger vacations, what does larger actually mean? Does that mean further away? Does it mean longer time period? Does it mean more excursions? Does it mean more luxurious? If you can really dial into that, just like any other consumption decisions you make, you only want to spend your money on the areas where you really, really, really find a ton of value. If it's not something that's actually valuable to you, don't waste your money on it. If you don't care about being in the top floor of the hotel, don't pay the premium to be in the top floor of the hotel. Figure out what you guys value and spend excessively on those things.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point, because I often talk about part of the Bedazzle Basic is like, you can go to Europe and do it, cook book all your own tours,
Yep.
Viator and all the other apps. You know, you don't have to do the tippity top. That's the way when I first went to Italy. It was very much that same way. I always, you guys now pick on me when I talk about dragging my bags down the cobblestone because I've told that story. But you can make blossoming memories even without a ton of money. So don't mishear what we say. We're not saying no. We're just saying do it in a very financial mutant type of way.
Love it.
Awesome. The Kwanzaa dude, I hope that helps. We really appreciate you being here and asking your question. And if you would like a Money Guy tumbler, just email Matt, matt@moneyguy.com. We would love to send one to you since we answered your question today. Caleb B's question is up next. He said, should the 25% savings goal be strictly retirement? Can cash savings and debt reduction be included in that, depending on what step of the FOO you are on? Thought that this was interesting.
Well, I think Caleb, perhaps you're misunderstanding the FOO a little bit. And this is what I mean by that. Our goal is for you to save 25% of your gross income. Well, the way that you do that is by working through the financial order of operations. Brian, we hold the thing out. For those of you who don't know, the financial order of operations, it's 9 tried and true steps of what to do with your next dollar. Well, if you happen to be on step 3 and you have high interest credit card debt, I'm going to argue that you got to knock out that high interest credit card debt. So 100% of the free cash flow that you have should be knocking out that high interest debt. Well, then you go on to step 4, emergency reserves, and you begin building that up. And then you go to step 5 and then to step 6. And so 25% is actually something in terms of like investing and building for the future that happens along the path of the financial order of operations. Not something that you start at the beginning and then start the financial order of operations.
Yeah, it is one of those things though, like employer match. If you got a 50%, 50 cents on the dollar for dollar, which is 100% rate of return, that's why you are going to probably do your employer match. So if they offer you like 6%, do 6%. That 6% plus your employer 6%, that 12% will count towards the 25%, assuming your household income's below $200,000. But then when you get to high interest debt, because you're knocking out credit cards or student loans, whatever you're high, or nowadays when I hear about 15% car loans could even be high interest for debt. That part is not going to count towards the 25% because it's really exactly what Bo said. It's working through the financial order of operations, the FOO. It's when you get back to step 5 that now you can pick up that 12% that you started with employer match and get it into your Roth IRA. Health savings account if you're using that for saving for the future. And then, of course, going back to that employer 401k when you get to step 6.
Love it.
Fantastic. Caleb B., thank you for your question. It's Tumbler Day, so if you would like a tumbler, just email Matt, matt@moneyguy.com.
I'm going to throw
What's
one
up?
other side on there, only because I saw it in the question. He asked about debt reduction. Can debt reduction count towards my savings?
Oh, yeah.
I see people do this all the time when they're like, hey, I'm paying off my mortgage and I know how much my principal is being paid off. And so you don't get to count that. We want that 25% to be money that you are saving and adding to your army of dollar bills, not money once you've got into the saving standpoint that's just helping you dig out of a hole, and debt being the hole. I do not think that you can count saving and retiring debt, specifically like mortgage debt, as part of your 25%.
I completely agree, because I think what this prioritizes is there's get wealthy behaviors and there's stay wealthy behaviors. And I've seen people who, because there's a mental trap you can fall into, is that you pay off the high interest debt, the credit card, you pay off, if they had a high student loan or a high car loan, you're like, this feels so good paying off this debt. And then people jump into that mortgage when they're under 45 years of age, and that wealth multiplier is at its peak time and earning potential. Yeah, that's why I love that we do not. I know it's tempting, but that is not mutant math. That is definitely not mutant math. That is debt crusader math, and that's more of stay wealthy before you've even gotten to get wealthy. And that's not always, it doesn't mean that people who are doing stay wealthy early don't get wealthy, but it just is not optimized for sure.
Love it.
That's a good distinction. Like,
Can
it
you
just
give him
means
a-
you're
give
not
him
at
the tumbler
25.
away again.
What? I will
said
give
give
him the tumbler
away.
again. I don't even remember what I was saying. You know what?
You
You
said
get
that
your
was a good
tumbler.
distinction. You started saying that was a good distinction.
Oh, it just means like if you're paying off debt with that amount, you're just not at 25% yet. Like, I think that's a good mindset to have. Like, it means you still are working towards that goal. Okay. Caleb, You can get a tumbler if you would like. Just email Matt, matt@moneyguy.com. Jay's question is up next. It says, how would you guys decide on whether to finance or buy a car in cash? We're 37, we're on step 8 of the FOO, and we have $100K in a taxable brokerage. A used car would take a nice chunk out of that at today's prices. So how do you think about this? And it's interesting, like he's on step 8, so he has some options here, right?
Yeah, let me go ahead and clarify this.
Okay.
The ideal way to buy a car, cash. I don't know where we got lumped into that we don't like paying cash for cars. I mean, it's the reality of when we do our surveys on our millionaires and even the way we live our own life, we pay cash for cars. The only exception is we know the financial mutant hack that sometimes with financing, when you're at a dealership, they'll offer you a few percent off the car if you keep the car financed for like 3 months. And if you're really a dork like I am with trying to get a good deal, I've taken that deal. But it was more of a tool than it was the need to use the financing. And if you're at step 8, that's one of the things is when you get to step 8 is that you are in those abundance goals. If you want a nicer car, that's great. But you gotta, as we always share when we do 23-8, people often overlook there's two distinct things besides putting 20% down, financing over 3 years, and making sure it doesn't exceed 8%. There's 2 other caveats that people sometimes overlook. First, your monthly investments have to exceed your car payment. And the second one is if it's luxury or a nice brand, you've got to pay it off same as cash. And that's the only reason I have that same as cash for the first few months is so you can play those financial mutant games reindeer games that I play, because I don't want to be a hypocrite with my rules. And I want to give you the freedom to do what I do with my money, but it's still the same as cash. And I think people lose that distinction sometimes.
Jay, the only thing I would throw out here that there was a little nuance inside your question is you said, I've got a taxable brokerage account with $100,000 in it. So when you're talking about paying cash, you're not actually, you are talking about paying cash, but what you're actually saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is, hey, I could liquidate some of my portfolio and I could use some of my portfolio to then pay off the car in cash. That's different than what we often talk about paying a car in cash. What we often talk about is, am I in a financial situation? Am I so far into step 8 that in addition to my emergency reserves, I can build up cash, or I have built up cash to where without having to liquidate my portfolio, without having to sell assets, I can then go for the car? Because I would say whether or not at age 37 you could pay cash for the car, should pay cash for the car finance, is going to very much depend on where you are in your financial journey. How far along the path towards your number are you? Meaning, if you were to go pull out $50,000 of your $100,000 taxable brokerage account, and that was going to set you pretty far back, and it's going to take you a long time to rebuild back up that $50,000, maybe that's not the best bet. However, let's say that, oh, okay, well, if I just, saved for a few more months, I could save up another $50,000, or I could get to $50,000 and pay cash. Well, then you're in a different situation. So I think you have to be careful. A lot of us think, okay, just because I've got the portfolio assets there, that means that I have the means that I can go make some large purchase or buy some large thing. You have to recognize there is a significant cost with taking those dollars out of the equation. You want to make sure you're at the place in your journey where it does make sense to do that. Because at 37, your wealth multiplier is still super, super strong. I mean, I want to say it's still like well into the high teens, double-digit-ish area maybe. And if you want to know, you can go check out moneyguide.com/resources. Look at the wealth multiplier. I don't know that I love, Jay, liquidating the brokerage account of $100,000 to go buy a new car.
Well, and that brings me back to the key. What is 23-8 and why is because there's reasonable car to get you from point A to point B, and then there's luxury car. If all of a sudden buying the luxury car because you're in step 8 drags you all the way back to step 4, maybe it's not time for the luxury car yet. I mean, you're not, as you said it, I liked what you said. Maybe you're not deep enough into step 8 of the financial goals. And that's why we always say it's Corolla. Not Land Cruiser, because we're trying to get people to get reliable transportation. That's what 23.8 is for, so you can get to your job and start the wealth building journey. It's not going to be your hack to luxury cars sooner and better to impress your friends who probably don't really care.
Love it.
Fantastic. All right. Jay, thank you for the question. If you would like a Money Guy tumbler, it's Tumbler Day, so we'd love to send you one. Just email Matt, M-A-T-T, @moneyguy.com to cash in on that.
By the way, I feel like enough time has gone. We got to say it again. Moneyguy.com/book tour. We just saw, because Lord help us, we need people buy some tickets, guys.
Brian,
I mean,
what's
these
the
are
book tour?
limited
What-
quantities of tickets
For people that just
and there's
joined us.
even some VIP tickets out there. So moneyguy.com/book tour.
So what you're saying is we're going on a tour.
That's
We're
right.
going to do a live thing, and you're going to give a speech, and we're going to do Q&A. That's coming your way here. In the
And
next
I don't
few
know if y'all
months.
know it. I have a book that's coming out
Do you?
on May
Okay.
28th. So, okay, then we can keep it going now. I'm sorry. This is,
Love it.
Good. It's
So
marketing.
just FYI.
This is our marketing guy.
well, I don't
I know,
know.
he's in
Or
it.
Brian just, I'd like to get there and it not just be my mom out in the audience. So it's,
I'm going to read you some of these comments after we're done
that
here.
will make me feel better. Because this is the guy, I was popular adjacent in high school. I'm not exactly the coolest kid in town, so that's why it would be nice to sell us some tickets so that I can continue to be popular adjacent.
Popular adjacent.
I'm so excited. It's going to be good.
Love it.
Hey,
All
and
right.
Chris Pratt, if you're out there and you buy tickets because you remember that time I went to the restroom 3 times to walk past your table, that will also probably help us sell some tickets.
Chris, if you want to come up on stage, we'll bring you.
You can be part of the show. All right. Okay, we've got another question. A
Okay.
financial question. Are you ready for it?
I
Yes,
am.
ma'am.
This one's from Josh. It says, we are on step 6 or 7 and are trying to save for a down payment on a house. We also have $90K in student debt. Does it make sense to turn down retirement contributions? This is a tough one, I know, but I also think it's relatable for some people because sometimes there you are in that situation, you're trying to think through it. So what can you say to them?
All right, this is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna take off the like analytical hat and I'm gonna put on like the behavioral hat right now. Personal finance is personal.
Yeah.
What that means is that the right answer for me might not be the same right answer for you, and the right answer for you might not be the same right answer for me. I think what you have to do, Josh, is you have to figure out, all right, what are our goals? What are our priorities? What are the things that matter the most to us? For a lot of folks, one of the things that matters the most to them is, hey, I don't want to work forever. One day I want to have the ability to step away from the workforce, and I want to be able to retire and do what I want when I want on my own terms. Well, if that's a pretty high goal, then the things that you decide you do need to like work towards that goal. Other folks say, hey, I really have this goal. I want to own a home. And by the way, I'd like to own that home before I get to retirement so that I can establish roots and I can start a family and I can have a place of my own. Well, that's a goal. And if in your life, it makes more sense for you to prioritize that goal over some other goals that you have, that's not a bad thing. You just have to go into it with eyes wide open about the sacrifices you're making in order to do that. And then I'm just going to tie into sort of the third thing you said. If one of your goals is to be debt-free, you have to figure out how important is the debt-free goal to me and on what timeline. Is it so important that I'm debt-free as soon as possible, or do I just want to have a path and a plan to be debt-free at some point along my financial journey? And depending on where that goal falls in the hierarchy will determine how aggressively you're going to pursue that, how aggressively you're going to construct your strategy around debt repayment. So you have to think about all the dollars at your disposal, in terms of what will be the best use of this dollar towards the most important goal that I have. And you have to work down your goal list and up your resource list until you get those two to match.
Yeah, I would add a little bit to this in the fact that, look, I get it. $90,000 of student loan debt probably feels like and it is.
That's a lot of debt.
But first, let me get a few things to do. A little homework, some assignments. I want you to go to moneyguy.com/resources, download the wealth multiplier so you can see exactly what every dollar has the potential to become for you, because you're still, did Josh give us his age?
He did not.
Okay, so
Saving for first-time home.
but I'm assuming under 45.
Sure.
And the reason I bring that up is that we've tried to, when we talk about, and by the way, it's in Millionaire Mission too. If you go to moneyguy.com/millionaire mission, you can see the book that's coming out where we talk about, I have a chapter on, it's step 3, where it's talking about high interest debt, is that you have to understand that what's the logic on what my money can do? It's an incremental decision of every dollar that I invest has the potential to become this. And the younger you are, the more potential it has because you can be more aggressive. You have more time on your side. But as you get older and you probably start diversifying, that incremental decision, you have to pay attention to the interest rates you're paying. So that's why we tried to give you some details using historic facts. Now I realize we just came through an inflationary period. It has changed some of these things, but there are still some good rules of thumb to consider. If you're in your 20s, student loan debt that's under 6%, that's not high interest debt. If you're in your 30s, though, that number drops down to 5%.
Yep.
If you're in your 40s, it's 4%. Because I do want you to have that student loan debt paid off. That's why I said the 45 and under. Yes, your money can earn more because you can take more risk. You can keep it invested for a longer period of time. For those that are 45 and over, now hopefully you've done the get wealthy behaviors. So it's now more about the stay wealthy behaviors, and we need to de-risk by paying off debt as fast as possible. But just don't get in a hurry, because debt crusaders, look, I'm all about paying off some debt. But there's a time and place after you get wealthy, especially on the low interest. And I try to walk people through, because that valuable resource of time, that ingredient that really gives your money that extra horsepower, you can't get more of it. No matter how much you try, there's no way to get more time. And I'm just trying to make sure you balance that desire to get out of debt, but also maximize and get as wealthy and let you have as many options as possible as soon as possible.
It's great.
Fantastic. Josh, thank you for the question. Thank you for being here. We'd love to send you a Money Guy tumbler as a thank you. Just email Matt, M-A-T-T, @moneyguy.com, and we'll work on getting that sent out to you.
You know one of the questions we just got?
What?
Hey, is Reby going to be in the book tour?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, if it helps us sell
Someone's got to herd
tickets,
the cats still.
she will be there. Go buy your tickets right
right.
now. Reby will be there too. You'll also
be
Yeah,
there.
you don't even have to come to see me and Bo. You can just come see head cat herder Reby.
Come see
Well,
Reeves.
that ticket will be just as good if you go to moneyguy.com/book tour. You can buy tickets to, and she, by the way, she'll be there at the VIP seating
Yeah,
too.
she will.
Maybe you
I'll
just
be
have
there.
Reby sign the book.
Okay.
You know, I'm okay
Okay.
with that. Big stage here.
Listen, someone's got to
stage.
throw
Big
you the
team,
questions,
little me.
right?
That's right.
Big team, little me.
Yeah. Someone's got to do the Q&A, right?
That's
Like
yeah, that's it.
we got to have some people.
Now, if
it's
there's
gonna be
any
fun.
creepsters out there, you should know her husband's big. He might be back there too.
He'll beat you up.
Oh, that's amazing and so true.
All right.
John the Bear.
Love him. Okay. Nick's question is up next. He said, howdy. Given the net worth skew for young people and the lagging nature of the metrics, are there other ways to utilize net worth or analyze your financial health? So especially when you're young. And he said, thanks for everything y'all do. Thought that this was interesting because when you're just starting out, it is true. Like you don't have the time on your side. So how can somebody like Nick know if they're on track
Let me
with
give
their
you a
net worth?
compliment before you give the answer.
Okay.
You know, when I first came out of school in the 90s, I tell you guys, a book, and it's still up there. It's just not on the podium anymore, the lean-to, or whatever you call a book highlighter. But Millionaire Next Door changed my life because it really showed me what millionaires do with their money. And I remember there's a formula inside there to let you know if you're an average accumulator of wealth, a prodigious accumulator of wealth, or if you're an under accumulator of wealth. And it's really talking about net worth. And that equation is your age times your income divided by 10.
That's right.
So the problem is, and this is one of those things I've taught to Sarah, and I know I've seen it on blog posts, is that it is known in the research that unfortunately for 20 and 30 somethings, that you just don't have enough time on your side, that your net worth, when you do that formula, you're gonna be disappointed because you just haven't been working long enough. Your income's going up so fast that it just doesn't work. And I thought this was a tragic problem with this great formula. And then walks in CFA Bo Hansen, with his brilliant nerdiness, he came up with a hack that actually, and we've incorporated this in a lot of our content on how to turn the Millionaire Next Door formula to where it does work for 30 and 40-year-olds, and I mean 20 and 30-year-olds. How does that work?
Yeah,
bro?
if you are someone who's under 40, I would encourage you to do this. Take your age, multiply it times your income, and divide by 10 plus the number of years you have until you're 40. So if you're a 30-year-old, your denominator, the bottom number, what you would divide by would be 10 plus 10. 40 years old minus 30 years is 10 plus 10. You would divide by 20. If you do that, it's going to give you a more realistic picture of where you should be if you want to be an average accumulator of wealth. Now, if you're someone who's young and your income has like moved a ton over the past couple of years, there's nothing wrong with smoothing it out. Maybe take your average income over the last 3 years times your age today divided by 10 plus the number of years until 40. And that's going to give you a great metric. But I do want to tell you, Nick, one thing that I would really have you focus on. Early on, we have all these metrics and all these things to focus on. You know the most important thing for a young person, the single best indicator of are you where you're supposed to be? It's one thing, and one thing only, in my opinion, your savings rate.
Yeah.
Are you saving 25% of your gross income? Because, and we have a great deliverable. If you want to go out to moneyguide.com/resources, in your 20s, if you can save 25% starting in that decade, there's a very high probability you're going to get to write your own ticket later in life. You're going to get to be able to decide, what do I want to do? When do I want to do it? How do I want to do it? Where do I want to do it? Saving 25% is going to equip you to be able to do that. So rather than focusing on all the formulas and metrics and this much time salary, focus on that one. Now, we know that you guys are financial mutants. You love this. And that's why we do have some content coming up. We're actually going to walk through milestones. We're going to walk through millionaire milestones that you ought to know about that will specifically speak to, am I on track? What should be my next goal? What's the next mountain I should overcome? And we're going to do that for you, all the way from like the very young person to the very, very seasoned person. And we're going to share with you some of the milestones that we hit. Those are great and those are wonderful. The single biggest thing that will impact your future wealth building at a young age is going to be your savings rate. How can I focus on that, and how can I get as many dollars working for me as early as possible? And if I can do that, time will do the rest.
Well, I've seen, and it's been on our YouTube channel in the comments section here in the last week and a half, there was a whole group of people talking about one of the biggest things that they want to thank us for was their net worth statement, the habit of doing it every year. Because somebody had said, I found these guys, and they named the year, and like I had $5,000, and then one person chimed in, now they're at 500,000. You know, and so guys, just do the exercise. If you go to, there's two options here. If you go to moneyguy.com/resources, there's a free net worth template that you can download. If you really want to turbocharge or accelerate your success, you can go to moneyguy.com, or you can go learn.moneyguy.com, and we actually have a net worth tool that has an entire dashboard. But don't skip that step. One of my regrets, I don't mind sharing with my regrets. I'm very transparent with you guys. I didn't start tracking my net worth until 2006. It was a lot of life. I graduated in the mid-90s. I daydream, and we have an associate here, Eric, who, you know, engineer mindset. He's actually got it from like when he graduated college, and I'm just jealous of that. So there's not a bad time to start this exercise. I promise your future self will be very thankful of just doing the exercise of tracking your net worth at least annually. I think when people first start this, you're probably going to do it much more frequently than that. And I always say it's like raising a child. It makes sense when you're trying to teach them to be potty trained and feed themselves. Yes, you're going to be doing that often, but after they kind of start taking care of themselves, you need to do periodic check-ins to make sure your net worth is doing everything you want it to do. But it's a great exercise in wealth building.
Love it.
Fantastic. Well, Nick, thank you for your question. If y'all are interested in net worth tracking, make sure you go to moneyguy.com. There's one on moneyguy.com/resources. It's a free 1-year template that you can just kind of get your feet wet with. Or if you're ready to dive in and actually track multiple years and get reports and have it all in one place, we do have our net worth tool. You can go to learn.moneyguy.com to grab that. And then I was going to remind you about the book tour, but I think Brian already did that a couple times.
Oh, no, there's never...
So...
Look, moneyguy.com/book tour. And if you didn't know, because maybe you've been hiding out from live streams or our content, there's actually a book coming out on May 28th.
There we go.
moneyguy.com/millionaire mission. Here's the thing, guys. I mean, I look at all the stats on the typical American. They're not financial mutants. And I just want you're on the right path. But I'd love to know, it doesn't matter where you are. This book has levers that you can pull to be a better version of yourself. But here's what I love. This is going to be probably the easiest way. When you tell somebody, go listen to this podcast or go watch this YouTube, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to get people to do that behavior. But if you give somebody a book, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, holidays, graduations.
Graduation gifts.
I mean,
that's
that's the spark. There's several sparks in my life. There's the one in high school when I had a teacher who made a statement that kind of shook me. But then there's also when I bought Millionaire Next Door and The Wealthy Barber. I want Millionaire Mission to be that spark for the next generation, as well as for anybody in your life that you care about and you want them to do money better. Millionaire Mission, a 9-step system to level up your finances. Take advantage of it. I'm your host, Brian. Bo, Reeby, rest of the Money Guy team, out.